Today we're going to be talking about Devil May Cry. And it happens to be that this is the second anime that we're taking a look at that happens to be based off a video game, the first one being Pokemon. And Devil May Cry is a PS2 game that was developed by Capcom, and probably the most iconic thing about it is Dante, the main character, who pretty much acts like a badass but doesn't give a shit about anything. Now when I first heard about this anime, I was in 8th grade, and around that time that was when I first played the Devil May Cry games. And I remember I was just looking around on the internet looking for something to watch, and I see something called Devil May Cry, and I was thinking like, wait, could that be an anime based off the game? And well, as you know, it actually was. So I just have to watch this show. Well, anyways, let's explain what it's about. So as you may already know, it's about Dante, who is a half-demon, half-human, who runs a business called Devil May Cry. And his business is all about hunting demons. And just so you know, this show is actually based off its own thing. It's not actually based off one of the games. It actually takes place in between the first Devil May Cry game and Devil May Cry 4. And pretty much while he's running his business, he is always under a huge debt. And then there's two characters that were made up for the show that happen to visit the business, such as Morrison. He mostly helps out Dante by finding new job opportunities. And then there's Patty, who is a little girl who happens to be an orphan. And she looks up to Dante as a father figure. And there's not really a whole lot I can say about her other than the fact that, well, she's kind of annoying, but, you know, kids just gotta be kids. So for the most part, all the show is pretty much about is just Dante taking up job opportunities to kill some demons. Also, Trish and Lady show up quite often, so there are other characters within the Devil May Cry series that do show up every now and then. But I will say that no, there is no Virgil in this anime. And like I said, the story takes place between the first Devil May Cry game and the fourth one. And Virgil was only in Devil May Cry 3, and as you know, that game was a prequel for the whole series, so therefore, yeah, there's no chance he's ever going to be in the show. So yes, the story is not really anything all that complicated. Then again, even the game stories were not really like that. So in this case, it actually does work well for what it is. But is at least the show entertaining like the games are? Yes. Yes, they are very entertaining. And the show is also pretty funny a lot of the times. Well then again, you would also suspect this because, well, as you know, Dante is pretty hilarious. And another thing you also would suspect is that it has a lot of fucking action. So I guess you could say that the show is mostly mindless fun. So it's an anime with a very simple plot and lots of action. And I'd say that every now and then it's alright to watch shows like this. But anyways, let's move on to other things, like the animation. And it looks very nice, I find. There's a lot of detail, and of course it does suit the very dark settings at times. And I just really like it a lot. However, there is one complaint I do have, but it's nothing too big, but it is at least noticeable. And that is, I find sometimes Dante's face can look a little bit derpy at times. But it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's only for a brief moment, and sometimes it's just really funny. So I guess that's not really a complaint, it's just kind of one of those things that you just happen to notice and it's like, wow, they kind of fucked up his face right there. But other than that, the animation is really good. And now as for the voice acting, well, all I have to say for one thing is that it's generally not very good. Now, the voice for Dante is Ruben Langdon, who is actually probably the best voice for Dante, so at least his voice is very good. He really knows how to act funny, which is great, and he's probably the best role within this entire cast. And as for everyone else, yeah, like I said, it's not very good. Although I will say that the voice actress for Trish isn't a bad voice actress. Her name is Lucy Christian, and like I said, she's not a bad voice actress, but I find that her voice for Trish is not the greatest thing ever. I prefer Danielle Bergio, who normally does the voice for Trish, so it's kinda disappointing, especially the fact that all the other voices just don't sound that great. Yeah, this is one of those animes where I prefer to listen to the Japanese, even though I have no idea what the quality of that one is, but I can at least say it's more tolerable. But listening to Dante's voice in the English one, though, is definitely better for me. Oh, and just so you know, I don't think this is like the worst voice acting I ever heard, but it's just not great. So overall, the voices are just not that great. But at least Dante's voice is good, so yeah, I guess it's alright. But it's definitely the weakest part of this show. And now, as for the overall score, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Yeah, remember how I said this show is mindless fun? Well, for me, that's definitely a good thing, and as for this show, I really wasn't sure what to expect, but I did have a feeling that the story wasn't gonna be like, you know, like the most amazing thing that you're ever gonna hear, and it's gonna, like, blow your mind. No, it's not that kind of anime, but it's the kind of anime where you just want to watch someone just fucking up a bunch of demons. and say a bunch of stupid hilarious shit every now and then. But the most important thing is that at least it is entertaining and it is very watchable. So I'm not really too disappointed with this anime, but I guess it could have been a lot better, but at the same time, this is really all I needed from it. So overall, it's just a pretty decent show with a lot of flashy action and funny shit going on.